I mean, my goal is that her identity would be of a global citizen. Because I feel like you have identity crisis when you're unsure of who you are. If you're sure that you're a global citizen, then you don't have an issue.
You can't make other people happy or better if you're not good, right? Then you do your family, then your community, then your state, then the world type thing. A lot of people skip the steps, okay?
The word expat and immigrant is a wordplay where you are really an immigrant if you are going from a have-not to a have. But if you're going from a have to a have-not, then you become an expat.
If all hell breaks loose, if I lose all my money, if I'm a nothing, I can still survive in some of these places on $1,000 a month and rebuild myself.
You are about to embark on a journey, not just through space and time, but through the very fabric of human perception. Imagine a world where the familiar becomes strange, and the strange becomes familiar. A place where the boundaries of reality blur, and the only limit is your imagination. This is a voyage into the heart of the unknown, where every turn reveals a new perspective, and every story challenges what you thought you knew. Welcome to Bold Perceptions, where we explore the myriad ways people see the world and discover that sometimes the most extraordinary adventures lie just beyond the horizon of our own understanding.
In bold. A little dreary day in Curitiba, my friend. I'm in the south of Brazil, and the weather, one day it's 90 degrees, the next day it's 60 and cloudy and rainy. The state, Paraná, the Brazilians, they make fun of me because I can never pronounce it. It's just chaotic with the weather. Everything else is pretty solid, very developed, nowhere near how you envision Brazil is down in the south. But my friend Nabil and Zenista, I know you're a traveling couple here, and I'm excited to talk to you because I'm getting up in the age, and I think I'm gonna start popping out some kids here and there, in a couple years, I don't know. And I still want to travel, you know what I mean? But it seems like it's very complicated. So I'm gonna discuss this with you, and then we're gonna talk about this sabbatical that you went a part of with your wife, and cultural programming from your background of being from South Asia, correct? So my friend, introduce yourself. Who are you?
Sure. So thank you so much, Nick, for this opportunity. Really appreciate it. So I am Nabil, and my wife is Zinesta, and along with our at that time 3.5-year-old daughter, we sort of packed up everything in our of our lives in Sydney, Australia, after living there for over 15 years, and we basically took a one-way ticket to Southeast Asia. Initially, our plan was to travel for a year, but we liked it so much, and our daughter, whom we were quite concerned about whether, like, how she would sort of navigate this disruption. So, because she did pretty well, so we thought, okay, we'll do it for another year. So right now, we're sort of coming to the end of our 2 year sabbatical, so to speak, or career break, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, it's been an amazing experience. We have learned new skills, met a lot more people. But one thing is for sure is that our minds have opened, that there is more to life than, fixed postcode and a fixed 9 to 5.
100%, my friend. Okay, so is she homeschooled? I mean, how the heck does this work out? She has no friends to play with? Is she on Discord talking to her other friends? How is the brain of, how old is this girl?
Right now, she is 5.5. So we've been traveling for
Okay, so
2 years. We
before the
started when
real
she was three and a
education.
half.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
so so Nick, when we started, it was very much a you don't know what you don't know. So my daughter is here. Do you want to come and say hi?
Hello.
Say hi. Say hi. Say this is Nick. He's my
What's your
friend.
name?
What's your name? What's your name? Okay, can you give Baba 2 minutes? Okay, or you can sit, or you can sit here, or you can sit here. So we were quite worried, like, how is she gonna sort of navigate this disruption. So what we did is we decided on a couple of principles. Number one is we decided that we're gonna slow travel. So we're not gonna be doing like hopping cities every couple of weeks. So we decided we're gonna slow travel, set ourselves in a city for anywhere between 2 to 3 months, depending on how long we get the visa for. And in that area, we decided to put her into international preschools. So every city that we went to, she went to an international preschool. A lot of people decide to homeschool or they'll have a nanny to look after the kid. But we decided that we wanted her to have that experience of, hanging out with other kids, continue her education as well. And yeah, so a lot of preschools, international quality in Southeast Asia, they allow um, temporary admissions. So we basically went and found them out, and that's basically what we did. Is that she had her own space, she had her friends, she made friends from different backgrounds, and we on the other side had that time during the time that she was in school. We had the time to focus on our stuff, which was YouTube. So we started off making content on YouTube and Instagram about our journey, taking this career break and travel. So yeah, that time allowed us to do that.
I'm very curious what happens to the kids who get their brain blown with different cultures at such a young age. They say, the kid, if he starts learning different languages early, it's super easy, right? So you have, young child speaking 5 different languages because their brain absorbs so much. So
Yeah.
not only learning to do language, but different environment, architecture, food, people, patterns. I mean, it's very hard for people like you and me. The older we get, you're like one-shotted with a new culture, and your brain is going nonstop. But for a kid, maybe that's their natural way of being, with the imagination and not culturally programmed, or you have all these rules in their head, and they're just kind of free throughout it. So, have you seen any of these kind of observations with the kid, with the new cultures and how they're dealing with it, or is it just Hakuna Matata?
Yeah, I suppose it really depends on the age of the kid. It also depends on how you are as a parent, like how open you are meeting other people from different backgrounds and cultures, etc. Um, but I think like you are correct. I think kids, Nick, are a little bit more susceptible and open because they haven't had those conditioning. And I think like a lot of times we grow up and we see the world through our goggles, right? And our goggles are our experiences that we've had over a period of time. The kids, they have that advantage is that they haven't, like their goggles aren't filled with experiences or even prejudices sometimes, right? So they just see another kid. They don't really see color. They don't see language. Like there are kids who came from China to these international schools, and sometimes they only spoke Chinese. They didn't speak English that much. But I saw like the other kids, they would play because play is their main form of communication. And the kids would pick up little words here and there. So my daughter, through this time, she has picked up languages like Bahasa, which is the Malaysian language. She's picked up Cantonese. She's picked up Vietnamese. She's picked up Thai. But of course, then she picks it up and then she forgets because we move on, right? But yeah, I suppose kids have a lot more open mind towards this. But I think that during this experience, I have really appreciated this because she has now learned the concepts of cities, geography, cultures, country, religion, skin color, all these different things, right? So she is, I think, a lot more, suppose, open and well-rounded as a citizen. So we wish to continue this for her, something that we haven't had that opportunity to do. So we would love her to continue going to international schools and meeting kids from all different backgrounds, as well as teachers as well.
Yeah, I'm really curious what it does to a kid's brain going forward. I think it's mostly positive. I'm a big fan of Kanye West. Obviously he's been in trouble in some years and caused a lot of controversy. But he went to, I think, China or maybe Japan when he was a young kid with his mom, right? And I think that played a massive role on his life. But like his creativeness, and I think a lot of the creative types have stayed in that childlike mind, right? Like we discussed about the cultural conditioning, societal, religious programming. Like a lot of these dudes are like a little kid, or the creative types where you're in your apartment but you think you're in a jungle, or your imagination runs wild, right? They're not limited. Their viewpoints and everything is like magical, right? And I think maybe kid starts traveling early, that feeling of the world is limitless and I can do whatever I want, and dreams, it stays with you longer, right? Instead of getting hammered down, going through the normal school system, staying in your same community, and going into that route to the cog in the machine, right? So be
Yeah.
very curious to see how this plays out. You should document it, because I definitely want to do it with my kid for sure. Speak multiple languages, have different cultural understanding, because like people don't understand. A lot of the times, who you are, what you like, what you do is totally dependent on the environment you're in, right? You think you're this most unique, awesome, special person, but I guarantee you, as an American, who grew up, oh my God, American football is the coolest thing in the world, and it's our biggest sport and most popular. If you grew up in another country, you wouldn't like American football most likely. You'd be doing the soccer, you'd be doing the cricket, all these other different things. So it's fascinating if you can do that at a young age to really blow up your brain like that.
Yeah, you're spot on, and I think that with kids, a lot depends on the parents as well. Um, like I'll give you a very simple example, right? In one of her schools, um, one of the teachers basically said that, oh, your child is very direct. Like she's very direct, and like she would ask questions. Sometimes it on face value it might seem a little rude, and I just said to her, look, she's a kid. I mean, I would rather have her continue asking questions about the world and trying to figure out those answers than me as an elder, like a parent or a teacher, like trying to stop her from doing that. And I think that when you ask questions, you're curious, you get more inputs into your brain, and then with that you can then process and then figure out and make decisions yourself. And I think that it really depends on you as parent as well as the teachers that they grow up around, is to never stop their curiosity, because I think once our curiosity stops, then you are very prone to sort of just accept life as it is.
110% on that, my friend. Okay, let's pivot a little bit to the sabbatical, right? Which I think will mix into the cultural programming. This is a big topic, man, and I think I recommend it to a lot of people myself. Is if you don't feel, you're necessarily fulfilled or happy, or you're looking at the person in your office that's 60 years old and thinking, "Damn, I don't want to. I see where my path is going. I'm going to end up like this person in the office." Taking the sabbatical, okay? A lot of people think, oh my God, it's a huge risk and I'm going to be held back from growing up in the company and doing this and whatnot, so they never really do it. Or, I have responsibilities, I got a mortgage, I got my friends here, like, this is crazy, I can't take 1 year off. Kind of go into the mindset of the sabbatical and what it's done to you.
Yeah. Look, the points that you raised are absolutely valid, Nick, and we ourselves had a lot of this, and like some of the people that we work with, it's all common, right? Like we are very fear driven. Like we usually ask, what if it doesn't work? Like rarely do we ask, what if it does work? It's just that shift in language, but it makes a huge difference. For us, I suppose we had a few sort of events that happened in our lives in a very short period of time that I suppose helped us push us a little bit off towards this journey. And without me actually telling you what they are, it won't really make sense as to how we were able to then eventually materialize this. So sometimes, how it says, sometimes you need a little bit of a nudge that then prompts you to then take action. So for us, we ticked all those boxes, right? Move overseas, get higher degrees, get good jobs, buy a house in the suburbs, build a family, buy the car, etc., etc. And so we built this brand new house, but unfortunately, within 1 year, we had this freak fire accident, and our entire downstairs sort of burned down. And we literally just saved ourselves in like just for a couple of minutes. And to see a really burned down house, a house that you build with a lot of love and effort and money, being destroyed like that, along with all the furnitures and all those little things that you had, it really puts things into perspective about how fragile life is. So we sort of had to live off our suitcases for around 3 months, moving from one insurance provided house to another. It really got us thinking, like, do we need so much stuff in our lives? Because sometimes we are sort of stuck because our consumption is so much, our living expenses are so much, and that's when we start thinking, okay, how if we could reduce our living expense, while sort of still earning in currencies that are stronger. Like, how does that look? And that's when we started sort of researching, and we figured out this concept of location arbitrage. Sometimes some people call it currency hacking, some people call it lifestyle arbitrage. But effectively, this is what Tim Ferriss became famous for in his book 4 Hour Work Week, is that you earn in a higher currency but spend in a lower. And then we realized that the only way that's possible is you change your location. And we chose Southeast Asia as that opportunity, as that path for us, because we come from Bangladesh originally, and it's closer for us, and our family are still there. So that's how it basically started. And we also had a few other things, like my father-in-law passed away. We had a very close friend who passed away in 2 months after this rare blood cancer. So we were like, you know what, life is too short. Like, we've always wanted to do this. And that other thing you talked about, people in the office 60 years old. For a lot of people, sometimes they're running away from something. For us, what happened was that we literally did every single thing that we thought we should do. So we had really high paying jobs, like climbing that corporate ladder, building a really expensive house. And for us, it became like, okay, from here onwards it's actually more of the same, right? So another house, another car, another kid. Do you know what I mean? Like, or another vacation. So we were like, okay, you know what, that's really not what we want. But unfortunately, Australia is so expensive, you can't really quit your job and then sustain the living cost there. So that's what we did. We decided, okay, how can we make this happen logistically, financially, mentally? Mentally, we were sort of there because we had those sort of, I suppose, incidents that happened that pushed us. But then it was logistically. Logistic was easy because you get all this information online, you can sort of figure it out. But then it was the finances. So we became 100% debt free, and then we just started saving. We were like, okay, how much do we need a month, and how long do we gonna do it, plus some contingency. And we were able to do it within 6 months. And then the main thing was, okay, we need something to anchor us. So we were like, okay, we're just gonna buy the first ticket out of Sydney. So that was from Sydney to Kuala Lumpur. We felt, okay, this is the date we're gonna go. No matter what happens, it's never gonna be perfect. But if we have that anchor, then we're more likely to do it, as opposed to having cold feet. You can have cold feet, man. You can do everything and still get cold feet and just not do it. So we were like, okay, we're just gonna do it, figure it out on the go, and then that's how it happened.
Wow, a lot of points there. Crazy story, and God bless you that you survived the fire. It reminded me, I've said it a lot. I mean, obviously, traveling makes you very minimalistic, but the Fight Club quote, the stuff you end up owning ends up owning you.
Yeah.
And also, I think it was Mel Gibson or Charlie Sheen recently when the Malibu fires happened in California.
Right.
Like, a ton of their stuff got wiped out. And I think they were on Rogan or a podcast, and Rogan's like, "Damn, I feel so bad for you." And the guy was like, I don't. Like, I felt this stuff was holding me back or trapping me, and now I'm 10 times more free. And that's a common thing that happens to people when they have that huge life moment, or something crazy happens. They're like, damn, what really matters in life? It's probably not that I have a movie theater room in my house and I have all these things from in the past and consuming and materialistic life. But here's where it gets interesting, okay? Because the cultural programming, Bangladesh, right? So I assume your parents, grandparents, they did everything they possibly could to get you in the position where you were in Australia making money, buying a house in the suburbs. It's very expensive real estate in Australia. And now they see, all the sacrifice they made, and you say, nope, I'm giving up, I'm going back to Southeast
Yeah.
Asia, right?
Right.
Talk on that, because that is a part too where, what do you mean? I did all this for you, I sacrificed, but now are you being selfish? Oh, it's about you, but what about your kids in the future and so forth? I mean, that's a big topic, especially in your guys' culture over there, no?
Yeah. Yeah, you're spot on, and that's the biggest challenge that we're trying to solve for others as well. Is that whole cultural element that sort of shackles you, that guilt of even wanting a different kind of lifestyle, and basically helping them navigate their own permission to say yes, you can do it. So for us, obviously, it was not easy. Our parents were clearly not super excited about this sort of endeavor of ours. But the way we navigated that is a the number one thing is that we're at that age where they have not as much control over our decisions as they did before. Like you're financially independent and whatnot. The second thing was, you don't necessarily have to just quit everything and just go and live in a jungle. I mean, if that's what you want to do, you go for it. But I'm just saying that, for us, having that ring fence to 1 year initially helped them understand, okay, it's just a temporary thing. But then you navigate from that 1 year to that second year, and then from that second year, then you say, okay, now I just want to relocate to somewhere permanently and then travel from that area, but I'll have a home base, right? So again, it depends on you. You've got to take step by step as opposed to taking drastic steps that would really freak out people or even freak out yourself. So yes, you are correct. It's not easy to navigate those shackles, but I suppose once you realize that sometimes certain things or certain image, it's not limited to just materialistic things, right? Sometimes it's, and especially when you come from a South Asian background, that image that you build of you being successful, like you live overseas, you have a house, you have a 9 to 5 job, you have 6-figure salaries. That image comes with respect from certain people. And then once you leave all of that, that respect and that image gets damaged. That's what people fear the most. Is the judgment of others, the judgment of society. But I suppose you've got to ask yourself that question. Is like, are you living for yourself and your, kids and all that, or are you living for society? Like, is society really gonna help you out when you're in the gutter? Is society gonna help you up when you have mental health issues? Like, at the end of the day, no one's gonna look after yourself other than yourself. So if you are absolutely in love with the corporate life and that life that you've built wherever you are, great, good for you, but there are lots of people who suffer in silence, but they simply cannot make that move because of multiple reasons. Some people, it's like, but mostly it's mental. It's hardly ever financial. It's most of the time it's mental. You just have to figure out what is that mental block and just tackle that and attack that as best as you can. And because once you are free, once you get that feeling, like there's literally no looking back.
Yeah, expand on that bubble of the tribe and the surrounding people and the peer pressure and earning their respect, and that's all that matters when you're in that environment, right? Because it happens in most of the world, but I know it's big where you're from, those type of areas, right?
Yeah.
Really expand on when you leave that bubble and you see it from afar, what it does to your brain.
Yeah. So you have to actually go back a little bit into history to understand why this has happened, right? So there are two reasons, right? One is the colonial hang-up that people have in our part of the world. So the Indian subcontinent was ruled by British colonialism for 200 plus years. That really, so we in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, we got independent in 1940s. So it's really hasn't been much. So it's really been like maybe one or two generation that people who have hardly any connection to that life. You know what I mean? But that generation to generation, that sort of thought process got sort of passed on. And the number one was stability and actually financial stability. Like go and get financial stability as fast as you can and then hold on to it. Hold on to it, pass it on to your kids. That is literally your job. And the society is kind of tribal. So in the Western world, families became quite nuclear. So you sort of move out after a certain period of time and then you build your own family. Whereas the concept of joint families in South Asia sort of moved out very recently. Like even up until like 30, 35 years ago, people were living in joint families. So when you live in joint family, you sort of do everything together. There's that collective. It's only very recently that people started moving out, like, living in nuclear families. So these are the main reasons as to why this mindset, sort of that sort of community and society becomes so big, financial stability becomes so big. So whenever you move away from that path, is when, like, for everyone else, it's like you are moving away from the path that's been determined by society as a collective. Therefore you are that black sheep. You're going away from the path that has been already set. Therefore you must be sort of banished, or, like, passed away, moved away. You are sort of like away. Do you know what I mean? So this is why you are sort of moving away. You are moving against the tide. But only when you are able to demonstrate to people that there's benefit in this, you are financially doing well, you are, like, when that happens, then that respect actually comes back again. Do you know what I mean? But you've just got to navigate that transitionary period where you are alone. You're doing it alone, sort of yourself.
Okay, I'm gonna pivot quick here, because you brought up the colonial part, right? Now I want to speak on, okay, you as a foreigner, you go to Australia, you make a lot of good money, you get a lot of benefits, they give you this opportunity. There's starting to become a lot of anti-South Asian stuff, in
Yeah.
Canada, USA, all around the world, okay?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's a mix, because, a lot of dudes are yelling at the Westerners and fighting and all that, but what is your perception of this? That, okay, hey, you guys go to these countries, okay? You make a living, you send a lot of money back home, and also now you do this and you go back to the South Asia and spend all the money there, right? Take me through that situation we are in right now, because it's getting hot, man. It's getting very tense.
Yeah, you are spot on, Nick. And look, at the end of the day, it's a perception thing, but it's only when you actually take a step back is when you can look at things more objectively. And I think most people actually come, like, I'm not talking about people who just hate on someone else because they're different, right? I'm just talking about people who don't necessarily hate on others or immigrants or whatever, but they are really worried about themselves, their economic self, and the future of their next generations, right? So they're worried about those kind of stuff. And the thing is that there, in this world, there is some common principles. Is that if you do not go with the tide of where the world is going, you will, chances are you're gonna be left behind. And unfortunately you only have the victimhood, and blaming. You see, what happened was, back in the after the manufacturing era, when a lot of manufacturing got outsourced, there were a certain group of people who actually really suffered because their skills were no longer required in that part of the world because the factories had moved on. So today, with there are two issues that really is gonna make this even worse over time, Nick, and I don't think this is gonna get any better. This hate, whether it's South Asian or anyone else, any other kind of immigrants, and there are two fundamentally two reasons. One is the birth rate is not going up in a lot of these Western countries, so they would need people to, I suppose, keep the economy going, because without people, you do not have an economy. So the fastest way to get the cheapest skilled labor is from places where they have a lot of excess of this. So you would be looking India, you would be looking China, you would be looking Bangladesh, Pakistan, right? So that is what's going to happen. Like, the politicians are going to be making that decision purely from an economic perspective, but unfortunately, the infrastructure will not keep up with this. Do you know what I mean? Because infrastructure takes a while. So that's fundamentally an issue that will continue to bring friction in a lot of these countries. And the other thing I wanted to just highlight is AI. AI is gonna just make things worse, because you know how a lot of these big companies, tech companies, are investing billions of dollars on AI today. They are making their own platforms today. They're making platforms, the runway, upon which a whole bunch of other people are gonna make money. but they're gonna make money because they're gonna own the shop. They're gonna charge. It's like Myers, or like, they would allow the infrastructure. Others will come and sell their products there. So what will happen is a lot of our skill sets that we have today is going to become irrelevant. Even people who manage massive teams, like managing people, these sort of skills are no longer going to be required because you will not have enough people to do a lot of these administrative tasks. So what is going to happen? Either we're going to be left behind, or we're going to have to upskill ourselves. Doesn't matter what our age is. Like, I'm almost 40 today. I'm trying to upskill myself in AI, right? Because I understand that, this is something I need to learn. Like, I can guarantee you in 5 years' time, a lot of the jobs that we have today, probably even my job, the job that I used to do, not going to exist anymore. So I've got to figure out other ways of generating income. For me personally, Nick, I have gone beyond this. I realize that this world, like, or merit, doesn't really look at skin color or your background or religion. If that was the case, then like a lot of people who actually moved to America, like so many people who moved to America from different parts of the world, they went and made a killing. They made great income for themselves, their family. People from very, very humble backgrounds as well. So you have to create things for yourself. Like, I can either continue to be upset and worry about what's happening in the world. The world is an unfair place. It is just how it is. You've got to make the best for yourself. Once you've done it, then try to make the best for others as much as you possibly can.
Good point. Good point. I like it. I firmly believe you need to read the book. I don't know if you have How I Found Freedom in an Unfree World by Harry Brown.
No, I haven't. Actually, write that down. I'll try to
Yeah,
read that.
basically that idea. Okay, first, obviously, you have to get your shit together because you can't make other people happy or better if you're not good, right? Then you do your family, then your community, then your state, then the world type thing. A
Yeah.
lot of people skip the steps, okay?
Yeah.
If Palestine isn't free, I'm not happy. If world hunger isn't solved, I'm not
Yeah.
happy. If every war doesn't end, then I'm not happy. Well, it's
Yep.
probably never going to happen, right? So it's an excuse for you not to take accountability and get
Yep.
your own, shit together. So my question though, what is the difference between an immigrant and an expat or nomad type like yourself right now?
It's a funny question, and I have actually looked into this a little bit. There, there is hardly a fine line between these two. So, a lot of people, the way they differentiate it is they say that an immigrant is going to another country to permanently settle, whereas an expat is going there on a defined time period. You know, but fundamentally, I think, and this is just my opinion, is that this is really just wordplay. The word expat and immigrant is a wordplay, where you are really an immigrant if you are going from a have not to a have. But if you're going from a have to a have not, then you become an expat because you're bringing in money. Whereas the other side, you are only bringing in your skills. That's it. Not a lot of money injecting into the economy. Yes, you will inject money in the economy later through your taxes and your investments and stuff like that. But right now, you don't really have anything to offer into the economy or inject right now. So I think that's where it sort of that fine line happens.
Yeah, because you always see that, like I Brazilians are crazy on the Instagram especially, and I have some reels that pop off and oh, gringo go home. I said, really? Okay. Well, first of all, there's 3 million Brazilians in USA right now. There's 80,000 Americans in Brazil, so maybe the Brazilians should go home first, then I'll go home. But also, I pay more taxes on sales tax alone than probably 70, 80% of the population. Okay? So like a Brazilian that goes to the USA, is making 10x what they normally would have made in Brazil, right? A lot of them under the table, so they're not really paying taxes, okay? And the difference to me is big, okay? You're going to a place for way more opportunity. Yes, I go to a place down here. There is opportunity to be found with the elite class if you can get into it. You save a lot more money. You have a great lifestyle, okay, et cetera, et cetera. But for the most part, there's a big difference, in my opinion, between the traveler nomad type that is going to the have-nots and the immigrant that's going to go build a better life. Okay, and God bless those immigrants too. I would do the same thing if I was in their shoes. Okay, I would try to do it the right way, and I would definitely try to assimilate into the culture because that is one of the huge problems that's happening. You go to a place, you take all the benefits, but then, no, I don't want to follow your rules or do what made this society the way it is, right? So there's a tricky thing going on with that because a lot of the normie brains say, "Oh, you're an immigrant, so why do you hate immigrants going back to your country?" Well, there's nuance to every conversation, okay? Big nuance. So, but anyways, let's get back on practical, focus, right? We're talking sabbaticals, cultural programming.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going on year 2 right now. Try not to be blasé, basic stuff, but what are some big realizations that blew your brain, escaping the normal route, and setting, sail for freedom and being the black sheep?
I think there are a few. I'll just get them off the top of my head because I haven't really have a list, so to speak. But I think the
Oh, and
number
by the way,
one.
you said you're almost 40 years old. You look really good, my
Yeah.
friend. You look very young.
Thank you, thank you. Um, Nick, I think the number one thing was so when I was in Australia, right? And I think every country has a little bit of this. Is like, oh, this is the best place to live. This is the best country ever. Um, and you sort of have some preconceived notions about certain places. And unfortunately, I did too, and it was ignorant. And I think that's one of the biggest thing is my ignorance got challenged in Southeast Asia. In fact, I was absolutely blown away by how technologically advanced some of these places are, especially when it comes to service industry, which is nothing compared to what Australia has. Australia has nothing compared to that. Like they would do everything using technology to make your services and your life better. And not only that, also with infrastructure, I was very surprised how like the road networks, the public transportations are in some cases very good and quite advanced. So that really challenged my ignorance. Like I had a lot of ignorance around that. So I think that was the big one. The other one, of course, is the lifestyle arbitrage. Actually, having something in theory is very different to practically experiencing that. So I think experiencing that and putting it to the test made me realize that actually this is very realistic, very possible. You can without having to worry about low disposable incomes, you can actually live a pretty good life, even with contributing and everything else. You know what I mean? And yeah, I think these are the two main. Oh, sorry, the third one, of course, without me having to say this, is as a family. I think us as a family, the three of us, became much closer and more present with each other. Creating that time allowed us to do it. Whereas in Australia, because the life is so robotic, so to speak, you're going doing your job, come back, household chores. You've got your social circle, go this, that, and the other kids, play dates and whatnot. So I think taking that step back allowed us to have a lot more space and be more real with each other, be more present with each other.
Yeah, they say never get into like a serious type relationship, marriage until you've traveled a decent amount with someone, right? Because you really find out who they are, what they're about, because usually it's just you guys in a foreign world, right? Different
Yeah.
languages, whatnot, and it says a lot about a person, right? You get to really see what's going on, behind the facade. The geo arbitrage is a huge thing, obviously. It brought to my brain something that really freed me, because I just posted a reel today about Egypt. I was there last September, and a couple months before they let the currency float, I think. So it became
Mm.
dumb cheap if you had US dollars, but Egyptian pounds, the prices they stayed the same.
Mm.
So, when it was $1 to 10 Egyptian pounds, the water bottle was 5 Egyptian pounds, okay? But now it was $1 to 50 Egyptian pounds, and the
Hmm.
water was still 5 Egyptian pounds, 10 cents, right? So
Yeah.
you're like, you experience shit like this, and the best thing it does for you is it's like, damn, if all hell breaks loose, if I lose all my money, if I'm a nothing, I can still survive in some of these places on $1,000 a month and rebuild myself, right? You're not
Yeah.
like, oh my God, I need $20,000 USD to survive per month. But like it makes you more risk taking, free because it's like, okay, hey, if all hell breaks loose, like, I can rebuild myself somewhere and survive. So that's a big mindset shift for a lot of people, especially someone who, let's say, is in the suburbs of Midwest America making 150 grand, they have two kids and they're barely getting by paying the bills. But if they had that in the back of their mind, like shit, worst case scenario, I can save my family. We can go rebuild it, down in Columbia in a decent neighborhood. It's there, the possibility. So, but good points, my friend. What comes to your mind right now?
Um, I would just say, I suppose, like having done this for a couple of years, the number one thing that comes to my mind is gratitude.
Dude.
Like, when we did YouTube, a very common misconception that some people had, whether they're immigrants or local Australians, is that we weren't grateful of what we built in Australia, and now we're sort of leaving and like not continuing to contribute and things like that. But we are just grateful to have found this. We still contribute to Australia. We're still tax residents. Like whatever money we make, we still continue to pay taxes there. We pay property taxes and whatnot. But they don't know on the internet. They don't know, right? So it's not about. It's just that we just have that gratitude because we know that there's so many other people in the world who would, like, break an arm and a leg for the life that we have today. So never never be ungrateful. Like, just have your gratitude in your way. You don't have to show it to other people, as long as it's with it's inside. So I'm just grateful that we've done this, and because we've done this, we're on this podcast with you. We get all these other opportunities that comes, and it's just like continuous, right? So yeah, I'd say the thing that comes to mind is gratitude.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Let's talk about putting yourself out there with the podcast, the YouTube, the social media. That's another big step. Okay, so you're doing the sabbatical. You're traveling. You have a ton of responsibilities. You're the man of the household. You got the wife. You got the kid. Um, and now you're going to even throw your face out on the internet and take on that load. So you have a
Yeah.
lot of boldness inside of you. I like it a lot, my friend. Talk to me
Well, thanks in
through.
advance.
See, talk to me through that journey of throwing out to the public now. So everyone back in Bangladesh, everyone back in Australia, they can see what you're doing. They say, oh, this dumb dude. They make bad comments to you. Talk to me through your journey of really throwing yourself out there.
Yeah. So look, Nick. Initially, as I said, our plan was just for 1 year. So our goal was to just document this for ourselves, because this is, for us, it's a big deal, right? Like, we never thought in our wildest dreams that we'll be able to do this, like travel for 1 year and things like that. So that was the initial plan. The initial plan wasn't to, like, make money or whatever. So that was the initial plan. So that's how we did it. Like, so even before we left, we said, okay, why don't we practice doing YouTube? So we started doing a few videos, not consistently, but in Australia, like, we went out one day here, one day there. We just documented in like vlog style, very amateur. Um, so yeah, it wasn't easy because none of us had any experience in content creation, editing, videography, none of that. Like, we were pure corporate. Like, Zenesta was an investment, like she used to work as in an investment banking. I was in senior management. Our entire career has been in corporate, so we never had to, like, put ourselves out there. Like, the only things I probably have done is be on corporate newsletters, like for an event or something. But that's very dry. That's very, like, specific. So don't get me wrong. It was hard. It was very hard. It was a lot of battles internally. Especially being cringe, continuously being cringe. Like, your content's not going to be good initially. So yeah, so we did a lot of YouTube videos online, like watching other people and their journey, how they did it. It sort of made us realize that, look, all we need to do is just be consistent, continue experimenting, continue doing what we're doing, and eventually we will get better. Like, we will never be perfect. I mean, letting go of that perfection was a big deal, and I think especially when you come from a corporate background, like unless you're right, you get slapped on the wrist, right? So you build some of those behaviors, you build some of those mindsets. So it took a while, and I wouldn't say we're perfect on YouTube or anything like that. We're still continuing to learn, but that's what happens is when you tell yourself that, oh, this is something I don't. It doesn't have a timeline. Like it's forever. Like I will forever continue making YouTube videos. It takes the pressure away a little bit, and I think taking that pressure away, saying that, oh, I will be bad. Some people are gonna judge. Some people are gonna leave nasty comments. And when those happen, like you have to just go through that lived experience, and you just go through that work. So, yeah, as I said, so it wasn't any planned anything. Like we just wanted to document our journey, and it just flowed from there, and eventually then became a small business.
Yeah, at the start, you're so nervous, posting some things, and you think Susie, Jane, and everyone you ever know is going to look at
Yeah,
it and make fun of you.
yeah,
But then you get over it really quick, no? Like now the comments, any bad ones, they go right off your back.
yeah,
Then you realize too that it's a great separator of who you want in your life and who you don't. Okay, so
yeah,
all of a sudden you find people who like really supportive, and then they like similar things you do, and then you know work together or you create friendships.
yeah,
To me, it's the ultimate like filter. Like when you throw yourself out here and you're not trying to be perfect and you're raw and you're uncut, all of a sudden you're like, damn, okay, this person actually likes me, and this relationship was nothing like I thought it was.
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely.
Are you monetizing yet? Have you made decent money through consultation?
Yeah, yeah. So our first thing was we got monetized on YouTube within 3 months of starting this. So we were quite lucky. We weren't really expecting that. So we still monetize through YouTube. That gives like an income that keeps coming through. And obviously we do these consultancies as well. It's not consistent like we would, and we are not earning anywhere near what we used to earn in our corporate lives. um, but I think it was never that we needed to make replace our income. That's the goal, that eventually we want to replace our income or incomes that we had, but it wasn't the goal that within 1 year we would do it. Like it would be asking too much of it.
Yeah, yeah. I think you gotta start it to love it, okay? You gotta really enjoy what you're doing, and then usually the money flows. Obviously, there's ways to speed run it, but I think that takes away a lot of the passion. You know what I mean? So definitely look at the long haul. I would have other sources of income, but some dudes, they go all in. They say, fuck it. If I don't succeed, then it's over, and then it works for them, right? So I think it's a balance. I just love the creativeness aspect of it where I can say whatever I want, I can create whatever I want. I'm not beholden to an algorithm or a sponsor or so forth. And to me, it's a lot more fulfilling. And there's a huge thing about creating, okay? About actually making something and then throwing it out into the world. Because a lot of people, they go through their life, they just consume, okay? They do their job. To me, okay, they're typing spreadsheets for someone else, okay? Then they go to the bar and they drink a beer and watch a soccer game. Like they're never really tapping into what makes them, right?
Yeah,
And sharing that aspect. So I think everyone has some sort of creativity in them, whether it's
yeah,
you do a painting, you are a writer, make music, and you have to do that to be fulfilled. If you don't, you just go
yeah,
through life spending money, consuming, and so forth. It's not good. We see the billionaires all the time. A lot of them are depressed and they have all the money in the freaking world, but there's something lacking. Their soul is not expressing it.
no, spot on.
My friend, okay, well, while we wrap this up, tell me
Yeah,
some countries you've been in recently, and we're going to discuss them quick.
yeah. So we were in 4 countries plus two. So
Plus.
what I'll explain that. So the 4 countries were in Southeast Asia because we said we're just going to stay in that region. So it was Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, and Indonesia. And the plus two is for families. One is Bangladesh, the other one is Canada. So my wife's entire family is settled in Canada, and my family is still in Bangladesh.
Beautiful. All right, let's talk. I've been to Thailand. I really want to do Vietnam. I was going to do it when I was over there. I did only Thailand and Cambodia, a couple months each. I
Yeah,
know Malaysia is super advanced now. Everyone talks good about it. But chat with me about Thailand. You were in what? Bangkok, Phuket, Chiang Mai. Where'd you hit?
So we stayed in Bangkok, but we traveled around Thailand. So we did go to Phuket, we did go to uh, Chiang Mai, and a couple of others near Bangkok. I forgot their names actually, but yeah. So we were in Thailand for 3 months, and the thing about Thailand, um, the biggest realization was that it's not cheap like it used to be. Like back in the day when people used to do digital nomad content and they would say, "Oh, come to Thailand. It's very cheap." It's not really cheap that much anymore. Like unless you go to like a really remote area in Thailand, but if you go to some of the big cities, it's I mean especially Bangkok, it's not cheap at all. I mean, it would be cheaper compared to say like a New York or an LA or a Sydney, but it's not cheap like uh, people say that it used to be. But the thing about Thailand that I like though is the people are very nice, very friendly. Their service is great. Their food is amazing, and there's like whatever you want in your life, you can get there. Like there's no limitation, um, and you can find your group there. Like if you're interested in XYZ, you can find people who are interested in the same thing.
The land of smiles. I
Yeah,
think, yeah, I like Thailand. I had a great time. I think it's still very cheap. I mean, obviously Phuket, the high season, the Russians came the year I went. I think it was 2022. So after the war, a lot of them fled there. They own the
yeah,
island basically right now.
yeah.
But at Chiang Mai, I had a freaking nice hotel with a pool, a big room right outside the walls for $12 a night. I mean, it was crazy. I was getting all the pad thai delivered to my place off whatever app they use. What's that app? The famous app there?
Um, Line and Grab.
No, that's yeah, grab. So I was getting like two, three meals for $10 delivered. I mean, it was beautiful in Chiang Mai. I liked it a lot. The problem with Southeast Asia for me, a lot of my business is done in the Western Hemisphere, so obviously the time zone is
Timing
freaking
issue.
brutal. But also, I don't know about the land of smiles. I think it's similar to Brazil. There's a facade. We're smiling, we're giving you great service and all that, but they can stab you in the back fast. And I met a
Yeah,
lot of long-term expats types there who got taken for it. They brought property. You have to have it 51% in the wife's name, and then it was all gone, after a couple years. And it's a little sneaky, okay? But
yeah,
$3 Thai massages are freaking unbelievable. It's
yeah,
so safe if you're unless you're just a crazy person. And then also, what people don't realize about Thailand, it's a very conservative culture
mm,
outside of the Farang bubbles. So they make
yeah,
these little bubbles in these places, and you can do
yeah,
whatever you want, like you said,
yeah,
literally everything. Like it's very crazy. But outside
mm,
of that, these people are super super conservative, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's a
And
weird mix.
I've got to say, look, about the living costs over there. I suppose if you're still a backpacker, you can get by, like, or a single person, you can still get by doing it cheap. But uh, I think I was actually maybe coming just from my perspective. Like when you have to put your kid in a school, like a preschool or anything, the price jumps up, and I can't really like because I've got a kid. Like I've got to get like a proper house with like two bedrooms at a minimum. So those are the things that sort of adds up for me. Yeah,
100%. I mean, I had a friend there though that had like a three-bedroom apartment, not too far from the walls too. Not apartment, a house, three-bedroom house for like $200 a month, right? So if you know the people and so forth, you can get it down. But I agree. Like, Chris the Freelancer is a great friend of mine, and one of his most viral videos was in 2017 or 16, and he's like
yeah,
living in Chiang Mai for $500 a month. A
yeah,
lot of people have seen this. He's an Australian guy,
yeah. I know,
and
I know.
it's definitely changed a
Yeah,
lot since then. But no, overall, I think Thailand's great. I think a lot of dudes should go there, do Muay Thai, live good, be chill. But out of those countries you listed in Southeast Asia, tell me where you love the most. Vietnam, Malaysia, Thailand. The other one was
um, Indonesia.
Indonesia. Yeah. Tell me where you love the most.
Um, so for us, because we look at it from our goggles, right? So as a family, um, for me, I think Malaysia is the best. There are a few reasons for that. I think Malaysia a has very good value for money. The food is sort of similar to my palate, and it's very family oriented. And lastly, you've got really really good international schools. So that's why I like Malaysia very much. Say if I was just by myself, I would prefer either Vietnam or even Thailand. But because I'm looking from the perspective of us as a unit, Malaysia for me is the best. Like I personally like Malaysia the most.
They're Muslims, no?
Well, you've got primary like yes, majority are Muslims, but you've also got Tamil Hindus and you've got Chinese who are either atheist or Buddhists.
And it's very humid there, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it's very humid. Like the because it's near the equator, like the weather sort of temperature sort of stays consistent. Every day or every other day it would rain, like during anywhere between 12 to 4 or 5. It'll rain for a little bit, it will reduce the temperature just a bit, and then the next day, like it's the same. It's very consistent.
Hey, Bangladesh, did you ever live there?
Yeah. So I so I was sort of like I grew up very early in Italy in Milan, because my dad was transferred there. So I went to the British school there and everything, and then I moved to Bangladesh with my parents and my family, and then I lived there till so in Bangladesh we follow like the British curriculum. Like you've got like different cultures, like different kinds of education curriculums. But in the English schools, it's the British curriculum mainly. So we did my O levels and my A levels, which is I think the HSC and SSC, in, like in some countries, like year 12 basically. Year 12, I finished that. I did 1 year in a local uni, and then I transferred to Australia, and then I lived in Australia since then.
Oh, so I'm talking to a high class Bangladesh man. You were chilling in Italy when you were young? How old were you?
Um, I was there for 5 years when I was like 3 till 8, something like that.
Okay, I lived in Bologna for 2 years. Do you remember Italy much or no?
No, man, I was really young. I have like snippets of it. So I'm now almost 40, and this was when I was 3 to 8, so it's
Yeah.
it's hard to remember a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, but Bangladesh, tell me some stuff about your country and like anyone that wanted to travel there, why would they do it, etc.
Um, so so Bangladesh is a small country, like geographically it's small, but it's got a lot of people. It's one of the most densely populated countries in the world. If you do want to visit Bangladesh, you want to visit for a few reasons. One is the hospitality of people towards tourists and foreigners is great. People would really look after you. I mean, especially if you know a local person, it's gonna be even better, like your experience. The food is amazing. Bangladesh has one of the best foods in the world, like at least for me. Um, and in terms of places to visit, like it's mainly gonna be, you can go and visit in the south of Bangladesh. You've got this, the longest unbroken beach in the world. It's called Cox's Bazar. On the southwest of Bangladesh, you got this place called the Sundarbans. If you're very adventurous, you can go there see the Royal Bengal tigers. You can even go to the north of Bangladesh and you can go and live in the tea gardens if you want. Like there are lots of tea gardens there. You can see their entire process, and then you've got a lot of historical places around Bangladesh. However, it's because it's a Muslim country. Like alcohol is not really there. Like you can have alcohol, but you got to know people, or you've got to go to like expensive hotels and pay through your nose. Like it's not very easily available. But if you go to Bangladesh and you know someone, you can get anything you want.
Not good. I know you, so when I go there, I can hit you up, get your connects. But
Definitely hit me up. Yeah.
we're gonna wrap it around to the start. So I didn't even know that you were in Italy when you were a kid. Now you're doing the same for your kid. You turned
Yeah.
out pretty good, from our conversation. I like it. So this is the lesson of the podcast: is take your young kid, have a move, and
Yeah.
live in different cultures when they're young. No?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, look, as I said, different kids are different, but I think the upsides are definitely there, like for your kid. And obviously your relationship with your kid as well. Um, and you should definitely try it. Look, there is this company called Boundless Life. So it's I think it's a Canadian firm. What they do is they do like 3 month cohorts where you can go with your kids and your family. you'll pay a lot because it's like a holistic service. So they will give a school for your kid, a co-working space for you, a community with other like-minded families. Like, so if you don't want to do the logistics yourself or things like that, you can even try it out with them. It's called Boundless Life. I don't get anything from them. Like, I don't get any commissions or nothing. But I think I haven't personally done it, but I know a lot of friends who've done it or people I've met through this journey. They all swear by it. They had great experiences, but it's quite expensive. Like you'll probably be paying around 10,000 plus euros per month for that. So you're looking at around 30,000 euro for 3 month experience. But if you just want a taster and you don't want to do any of the logistics yourself, you can try that out yourself as well. But if you do want to do it yourself and you want to save a bit of money and you want to do this for yourself and your kid, I think this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. And of course, if you don't like it, you can always go back. Do you know what I mean?
But hold on, my friend. That reminds me, the negative of the kid traveling at a young age and never really having an identity. Do you think that's messed you up a little bit? I mean, you're Bangladesh, you're Italian, you're Australian, now you're Southeast Asian, or is that something you've overcame? That's a big problem for a lot of people. That where am I from? Where's my home? Who am I?
Yeah. I mean, my goal is that her identity would be of a global citizen. Because I feel like you have identity crisis when you're unsure of who you are. If you're sure that you're a global citizen, then you don't have an issue. Do you know what I mean? So that's my goal for her, for my daughter.
Beautiful. All right, future plans, my friend. Before we wrap this up, where are you going next? How
So
long do you think you actually have on the road before you settle back down?
yeah, so actually we're flying out tomorrow to Sydney. So our almost 2.5 year of travel is over. So we're gonna be going back to Sydney for a little bit, to sort of reconnect and sort of establish what we want to do there from there. I know this is not the end for us. I know that the future will be, because I think it's like after we've tasted this lifestyle, I think our mindset is very different. Like for us to sort of just live exactly the same life as before, but we do not know exactly what the future holds for us. But I do know that it's gonna be something amazing.
Wonderful. What do you want to pitch here? Anyone that wants to hit the road with their family or do a sabbatical, message you guys on Instagram, your email. What do you want?
Yeah, just reach us out on Instagram because we don't really advertise this that much because I feel like right now we just want to work with people who really want this. So they would reach out to us on Instagram usually. So yeah, it's Tiny Detour on Instagram. If you don't want to reach us out, send us a message and let's chat.
Beleza. Perfect. Hey, it was a pleasure. I
Same
don't
here.
think I was expecting this. I thought you were more kind of dorky, but you live a bold life. I like it a lot, my friend, and definitely Bangladesh. You got to introduce me to some connects here. I want to go through that country and have a blast.
Absolutely, Nick. You've got my details. Anytime you want to go, or if we ever our paths cross, like we'd love to meet up in person. So yeah, with that, I wish you all the best in Brazil and in the future with France. I think you said France, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Most likely I'll be in France next year,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So all the best with everything, man, and let's keep in touch.
Awesome. And everyone else, live bold.